on top of tracking Tropical Depression 2 in the Bay of Campeche, we are now monitoring a potential trouble for the southeast coast as we head into this upcoming holiday weekend, the 4th of July. The National Hurricane Center just tagged a new area to watch along the southeast coast. And what better time than now to bring in our Fox Weather hurricane specialist, Bryan Norcross, with his input. He's joining us live on the phone. Bryan, we have been watching this at Fox Weather, so maybe not such a surprise to see this area tagged.
No, it's not. This is typical, actually, for June. Often we see them earlier in June. Cold front comes down and settles somewhere near Florida, sometimes over the northern peninsula. In this case, kind of right along the Florida-Georgia line. And there's always a basic little bit of spin around the cold front, and that can be enough to get a system going, especially over the Gulf Stream offshore of North Florida, Georgia, or the Carolinas. So that's a possibility. Normally, these systems track up near the coast or on offshore, and all indications, early indications, are from long-range computer forecasts that that's what would happen if indeed this does develop. And you know, it's a week away. At least, I would say sometime late next weekend or early the following week. So obviously the exact details are fuzzy at this point.
So, Bryan, well, we've got some time, obviously, to watch this. I think one of the bigger takeaways for me also is that we have that boundary stalled overhead. So it is going to be stormy, right? There is going to be a lot of unsettled weather even before this system could come together. Where do you think this is going to lead? How much of an influence does the steering pattern of the current state of the Atlantic have on maybe stirring up this system?
Well, yes, there will be this front, and the reason that June is one of the rainiest months in Florida is because you get tropical air coming from the south, and you get cold front still can penetrate from the north. So you have this combination of northern and southern weather still can come together in June. And then by July, the northern weather doesn't make it that far south anymore in general, so things change. So the stormy weather is just kind of a normal part of June in Florida. Now, the upper level steering that pushes the front down kind of moves away, so you end up with generally kind of a southwesterly flow, and that's why it's the northern component. Think of a dip in the jet stream. The northern push pushes the front down and then kind of moves on, and now the flow is parallel to that front. So parallel means pushing out to sea or near the coast. So can't rule out some kind of effect along the Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina coast. But again, too early to know, and there's no indication of it being a super strong storm or anything like that at this point. But we have seen these June storms sometimes get reasonably strong. They're generally not very long-lived, but they can still have an effect on the coast. So we'll watch it for the end of the July 4th weekend.
Yeah, makes sense. Bryan, Michael Estime here. Question for you is, we're looking at the chances for tropical development. Is there a reason why just off the coast of southeast Georgia and the Carolinas, that is actually an area it looks like is a little bit more favored at this point? I know that we're still a week out, so lots can change. We don't want to get married to one model or the other. But is there a reason why that area is a little bit more highlighted, if you will, for tropical development?
Yeah, so a couple of reasons. One is because you have the Gulf Stream that pushes right up there just offshore of Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina. So you have this very warm source of water. Also, because of the elevations involved in the United States, very often we get low pressure that wants to develop off the East Coast, related to a lot of factors in terms of the wind flow, where the northern winds come down and the southern winds come up, and you tend to get circulation forming there. We get this all winter long with nor'easters. You know, that's often where they form, and then they move up the coast and so forth. So it's just because of the geography and the way the winds generally flow, you tend to get low pressure forming there in the first place. And now we're into tropical season where we have the Gulf Stream. And it also, this time of year, if you're going to have a cold front come down, it usually can't get all the way through Florida. It's going to stall somewhere around in there, and that can provide a trigger. So combine it with the upper air flow and the Gulf Stream and the just general location of where fronts lodge. That's where we quite often get something developing, and we've seen them over the years develop either in the northern Gulf or there off the southeast coast.
We'll be watching. And Bryan, we can't let you go without a real quick mention, TD2. I'll throw up the stats here. We did not get Tropical Storm Barry, which Michael and I were talking to my surprise, was not expecting it. How do you feel? What's your input on this storm?
Yeah, so it wasn't surprising to me that it didn't get to Barry. It's actually quite disorganized, and probably we're not going to see Barry out of that. It's just too close to the coast, and it's going to move into Mexico today. The only real threat there is the heavy rain in the higher terrain along the Mexican coast. Maybe they'll have some wind gusts to 40 or 50 miles per hour at the coast, but nothing really significant. That is really related more to what's been going on in the Eastern Pacific with all these storms, record number of storms. The same mechanism, the high pressure over the Atlantic has been so strong, holding the storm track to the south and pushing everything way to the west across Mexico into the Pacific. And it just let up just enough that a little bit of that tropical energy kind of turned north into the southern Gulf of Mexico. But it's just it's a part of this dominant weather pattern we've had this year to push everything very far to the west, all the tropical disturbances that come off of Africa. And there's no sign that's going to change anytime soon.
Yeah, well, the Eastern Pacific has given us nothing short of something to talk about, right? But now we're seeing signs of life in the Atlantic. Bryan Norcross, we appreciate your expert insight as always, and I'm sure we will be talking a whole lot more as we head into this upcoming holiday week. We'll be checking back in with you. Thank you, Bryan.
All right, Jane, thanks.